Also deals with COVID-19, and it's something that's caused a widespread debate. From the start of the lockdown until February this year, the alcohol industry lost over 36 billion rand in revenue. The massive drop was a result of repeated alcohol bans and restrictions. Well, the liquor laws were initially imposed to lessen the burden on the country's ICUs and trauma units during the pandemic. But with far fewer COVID-19 patients streaming into hospitals, should strict bans remain in place? And are the restrictions on liquor sales simply putting a band-aid over a wider societal drinking problem? Well, to weigh in on this topic, we're joined by UCT critical thinking lecturer Jacques Rousseau. Thank you so much for joining us, Jacques. I mean, do you think that after government saw the decrease in hospitalizations after the alcohol ban, they now see it as a potential to keep binge drinking in check and perhaps a long-term solution?
Morning, Annika. I do think that there is a serious systemic problem in this country, not just in this country, but particularly the one we're talking about here. And the team at the SAMRC, including colleagues of mine at UCT, have, I think, shown this quite conclusively in an article published in the South African Medical Journal that shows that the alcohol bans or restrictions were the most serious contributor to decreased deaths and injuries rather than lockdowns were. So there's certainly merit in that. And while I would certainly like to maintain maximal freedom, and certainly I resent the restrictions on my own ability to purchase things when I want to purchase them, we need to grapple with that long-term problem. And I don't think it would be ideal to do that through restrictions such as the ones we have now, but something needs to be done, and whether that includes some sort of restriction or increase in prices or whatever needs to be worked out. We certainly do have a problem that needs to be addressed.
I mean, countries such as Russia that had a massive drinking problem, they've managed to decrease it slightly by putting massive taxes on booze. Could this be a possible solution?
Yeah, it certainly could be, so long as we can do it without encouraging illicit liquor trade and potentially causing further negative health consequences, in the sense that the unregulated and illegal industry might result in more toxic ingredients or drinks coming into the market. So a huge price increase would certainly be part of the problem. At some point, it's going to become unduly punitive and is going to cause a serious loss of revenue for the industry itself. So we need to find some sort of balance. But yes, an increase and a restriction on the number of units sold, and certainly a stronger policing on things like age of purchase, would all be measures we should consider.
Jacques, you know, having these very strict bans, doctors would tell you, would lead to reduced irresponsible behavior in terms of COVID, you know, not getting too close to people, not socializing as much, as well as a reduce in trauma cases to the ICUs. Doctors want this ban to stay where it is. They say it's really helping their wards. But how sustainable is it? And can government really, looking at the losses to the industry, keep restrictions going post-COVID?
They're going to struggle to keep it going, especially at this level, because then people are impatient, fed up with the restrictions on their freedom. But I think one thing that people who think about this more carefully and in a less cynical fashion realizes that the pandemic has shown us that we are irresponsible, not just with the drinking, with the driving, as any South African would know, I think especially Cape Townians would know, but even things like it should strike you as obvious now that one should wash one's hands more, and that if you're sick you don't go to work or you wear a mask, etc. All of those things should stay, and including a more responsible attitude towards alcohol. But there are some things that are irrational here, such as the announcement of liquor sales being allowed again on Friday, which seems to me to be completely contrary to the interests of the doctors that you were just talking about, in the sense that now we suddenly have the ability to stock up more for the weekend, which is when most of the fatalities or injuries occur. So the policy isn't rational here, and one gets the fear that it's being driven by industry lobby groups and financial interests rather than by the best interests of the country and the citizens' health.
Very quickly, and it's a tricky one, when one has to look at why South Africans drink as much as they do you think it is linked to a deeply traumatized society, a society that has had trauma handed down to them over the years since apartheid?
I think that certainly would be part of it. I mean, we are desperate in various ways. I mean, obviously not all of us, and certainly not equally, but there are these vestigial scars and ongoing traumas, and then they also manifest in socioeconomic inequality and desperation resulting from that. They stem from patriarchy and abuse of female partners, and a culture of machismo in a sense for many of our citizens. So I think there's something to that, but there are going to be far more elements as well.
Thank you as always for your astute insight. UCT critical thinking lecturer Jacques Rousseau. Well,